Sorry. Hey.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Morning Locker. And this is an episode I've been waiting for. The last couple, I got to talk with my brother and Michael and their endeavors in business and life. But I wanted to go in a little bit of a different direction with this conversation, have a little bit of fun, but at the same time, still trying to understand perspectives of people that you might not be familiar with. So today I've got Ryan Magee. He is a lifelong conspiracy theorist, martial artist, coach, and proponent for the existence of extraterrestrial life. Ryan has attended dozens of speaking arrangements and events dedicated to research, understanding, and spreading awareness of alien life. And Ryan is an experienced practitioner of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA at Western New York MMA in Buffalo, New York, where he also serves as youth program director and cornerman. So Ryan, welcome. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me.
And I just wanted to start out giving people a little bit of an idea of what got you into conspiracy theories. What was an early experience that really shifted your perspective towards, hey, maybe I don't want to believe everything that is just presented to me initially as fact?
Yeah. Well, there's a difference. Are we talking conspiracy theories in general or the, extraterrestrials? I mean, there's kind of a difference there. Aliens are what got me into everything,
Yeah. So exactly. So if aliens was what got you into everything else, what was an experience that got you to start thinking about, hey, maybe extraterrestrial life does exist? Maybe we aren't alone.
Yeah. The earliest memory I can remember is I grew up on Long Island, and my brother and I were out in the street playing at night, and those times you didn't come in till way after dark, and this was pre-internet and all that.
Right.
And I was really young, so the memories faded over time, but I do remember the experience, and my brother does as well. He's 4 years younger than me, and a bunch of kids in the neighborhood playing. We look up, something strange in the sky, no details or anything. It was odd, just hovering there, lights, as much as I can remember. And then boom, it took off really fast, and that was it. And we all ran inside scared, didn't know what we saw, kind of laughed it off, and years went by and nothing really happened. But that really cemented something in me that, whoa, there might be something else, that experience, because it wasn't just me who saw it. There were other people there at the time too. Now, like I said, I was probably 10 years old. So as time's gone on, that memory's pretty much faded, but as far as the details around it, but I do know that we saw something weird. What it was, who knows? But it wasn't anything I recognized.
Right. And that's that actually is, I like the way that you set that up towards the end of the question, where you were saying, I don't necessarily know what it was. Right. And I think that's a big difference that people do need to be aware of. Not everyone is saying, hey, I know exactly how it is. This is it. You're all sheep for believing this. What helps you to maintain that kind of open-mindedness and like, hey, anything can be the truth. I'm not exactly sure what's out there.
Dude, that's super important. I always tell everybody, I'm not 100% married to any of these ideas. I tend to lean one side more than the other, but I'm on the fence about everything. I'm on the fence about life itself. I mean, you start looking into the simulation theory, and who knows if you and I are really doing this right now,
Okay, slow down.
Okay, yeah. Let's not go too deep too fast. You're right. But no, that's really important, and there's a few reasons for that. As time goes on, the military has come along and has advanced their aircraft. So, things in the sky that we see, if we're talking aliens or UFOs, it very well could be man-made. You can't jump to conclusions unless you 100% know. But then there are things that are unexplainable. Recently the Pentagon, I'm sure you're familiar with, released those Tic Tac videos from Commander Fravor, who is, I would say, one of the most credible people on the planet, and fighter pilot in the military. And they saw these objects doing just things that were incredible and unexplainable. And the Pentagon's come forward and confirmed it. It hasn't really made a big splash in the news media, but it's confirmation that we might be dealing with something otherworldly. But then, again, you have to be really careful because you could discredit your own beliefs by jumping conclusions on everything. You can't go too deep too fast. You know, you gotta slow your roll and just do the research, look at it unbiasedly, and go from there. And then people will tend to open up a little bit more. If you're too much into the weeds, you're gonna push people away, and they're just gonna, this subject's already laughable. I mean, and it is. I mean, and it's good to have fun with it, but there's some seriousness about it. I mean, even the terms aliens. I mean, when you hear that, it brings a smile to your face. You know, that's why they've changed it to extraterrestrial. You know, this subject matter is very serious to a lot of people, and rightfully so. It should be, but you can have fun with it as well. You just have to be careful, you know, how deep you go, because you don't want to be in that situation where you come out looking like a fool in the end, you know.
And I think, so really quick for those who might not be aware necessarily of what the Pentagon announced, the Pentagon admitted that there are unidentified flying objects that they are not aware of existing. So they're not classified in any sort of...
They actually use the word not from this world, something like that, otherworldly. They use that term.
Yeah.
You know,
And
so
which
what does that mean?
It is in the way that they move. So basically, over the years, the United States Air Force has captured footage of objects that move in very strange, I think you would agree, patterns that kind of defy our laws for the way that aircraft should move, as according to laws of physics.
It's not just strange; it's impossible. I mean, from our standards, from our
Yeah.
physics standards, for what we know currently about physics, it's impossible.
And that is where we do. So this is where I think most people would say, "Hey, wait a second, slow down, Ryan. Like, why can't one of us on Earth have developed this technology, and we're just keeping it from everyone else?" What do you say to somebody who maybe says a critique like that?
Well, technology is the key. That's the, you know, when people say, you know, why are they covering it up? You know, the big thing for a while there was, oh, it would cause panic and fear and, you know, civil unrest. But as I've done more research, it looks more like it's more coming from a technological standpoint. I mean, you know, anybody who possesses this technology can rule the world. I mean, we're talking about anti-gravity technology, and I don't know if you're familiar with the Bob Lazar story, but
I am,
you know, so when you I forgot what your initial question was, but it had to do with
so basically, if you think that in matters of extraterrestrial life, and
right.
thinking if these technologies actually are coming from another place, or if they're developed on Earth just by some government or organization that doesn't believe in distributing it to other people.
Right. That's what I was getting on track with. So that's why in modern day, like we were talking earlier, you got to be careful what we're observing in the skies, because there's a very good possibility that the government has reverse engineered the technology from downed or captured craft. I mean, again, the Bob Lazar story, if you're not familiar with it, look it up, but he goes into great detail about that. He was actually there at a site called S4 that was supposedly Area 51, and they had some craft there, and they had a group of scientists working to reverse engineer. I mean, you know, you have something that you witness doing incredible feats like that. What's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to hoard those secrets, right? You're going to want to use it to your advantage. You're not going to want those secrets to get out, and you're going to try your darndest to reverse engineer that and apply it to our crafts, you know, and use it for, you know, military capabilities. I mean, everything in this world goes to the military first and then comes to civilian life. And we're talking about technologies that fundamentally change things as we know it. I mean, you know, it would be amazing. So, you know, again, those technologies possibly could have been reverse engineered today. I mean, there's a craft called the TR-3B. Okay, you can Google it. A lot of people think that that's the first craft that the military has instituted this new propulsion technology, which is anti-gravity technology, that we think that the UFOs are using. I mean, the way they fly, the things they can do can only be explained by some sort of anti-gravity propulsion. And a lot of people think that we've mastered that technology and applied it again to a vehicle called the TR-3B. It's otherwise known as the Black Triangle.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see these things, there's plenty of videos. You can go on YouTube. I mean, I'm sure some of them are fake. And that's the difficult part too. There's a lot of disinformation out there, but there's some ones out there that look really good. I mean, and I'm pretty good, and I'm sure you're pretty good, and most people are pretty good at noticing fakes from real. I mean, we're online all the time. There's a ton of fake stuff on there. Yeah. I mean, it could still get past us, but judge for yourself. And there's been plenty of eyewitness accounts. These black triangles come over in many different sizes, and the key things to look for is the center always has some sort of like a type of plasma ball, and then there's 3 lights on each end. And these things are quiet. Many times they're the size of football fields. They're huge. They hover. Mm-hmm. So again, is this our military experimenting? And then, they've also been seen to have cloaking devices. And, again, that's a laughable term. Oh, come on, cloaking devices? Dude, right now, the military has the ability to do that using cameras and light refraction. I mean, we did it with paint, years ago with radar deflection, and now we're having the capability for visual deflection.
Yeah, I think is a very old idea. The government's been trying to do that for a very long time through various methods, not necessarily directly using light refraction or anything like that, but for sure other methods like radar was huge, being able to block radar.
Right, but going back, I don't mean to interrupt you, but going back to reverse engineering, again, these technologies are world changing. I mean, you would rule the earth, and elsewhere. Mm-hmm. And it goes as far back as the Nazis. I mean, the Nazis were working on the Glocke, or the Glocken. You'd probably know how to pronounce it better than I do, but it's German for the bell. And they had a bell-shaped craft that they were working on, and supposedly they were able to develop some sort of propulsion system that allowed this thing to fly at weird angles and do crazy things. Who knows? I mean, so, it goes back. People are always going to try to, mimic, copy, and emulate what they see, and with the funding and the black budget projects we have today, and the great minds that are on the earth today, I don't see it being out of the realm of possibility that we could develop some sort of propulsion system that is exactly like UFOs. And, once you have that, you have to remember what those capabilities are. Okay. Yeah. There's been sightings of these craft going in and out of volcanoes, active volcanoes, in and out of oceans at depths that are, I mean, the Marinara Trench, I said Marinara. What's the term? I forget what the trench is called.
The Marianas Trench.
Yes, exactly. They've been witnessed coming in and out of there, going in and out of space. I mean, you can go anywhere at that point. So, I mean, this would be huge. Why wouldn't they want to work on that? Why wouldn't that be the top thing going on behind the scenes? I mean, millions, if not billions and trillions of dollars go missing from budgets all the time. And a lot of people think that money is being funneled to these projects.
They absolutely do. But I think the issue that most people would have, or maybe the question that they would have when you say all these things, is how do we determine, because you said at the beginning of our talk, there are unfortunately some people out there who are completely full of BS when it comes to, a lot of them, when it comes to aliens, conspiracy theories, UFOs. There are a lot of these people, unfortunately. So how do you determine what is truth, or what you believe is worth looking into, and what's just garbage?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think it starts with the source, obviously. You got to look at the person we're talking with. Is this, some guy in his basement that's just doing a bunch of YouTube videos and, spouting out a bunch of so-called facts? Or is this someone like Commander Fravor, who's a decorated Air Force pilot? I mean, I would take him as being a little bit more credible. If they're, look at the Defense Minister of Canada. Okay, you can look into him. I don't recall his name, but that guy is at the upper echelon of government in Canada. He's come forward, and you want to talk crazy talk to this guy, okay? He's claiming, up to 6 different species of extraterrestrials are on our Earth right now. I mean, this is a guy in,
he's
top
Canadian,
government. But no, I think the first thing is look at the source, okay, and go from there. And once you look at the source, it's tough. It's really tough because one of the tactics that ufologists will say is being used, and there is evidence of this, is called misinformation. Okay, when you want to hide something, you flood it. You flood it with other information, so it becomes nearly impossible to decipher that information. So let's say a document's released, okay, and it comes back through the Freedom of Information Act, and it's released, I don't know, in the 60s or 70s, and we're able to read that. Maybe that organization will add a bunch of other documents that are not true just to cause confusion and chaos within that single document. And it has been known to be done. I mean, and so now you're searching through tens of thousands of documents, and how do you determine what's real and fake? Well, I personally don't know, but that is a big problem. And there's an organization, you can look into this. I mean, you're going to have to look into a lot, but everybody's heard of the Men in Black. Again, another term that gets, laughed at. And part of the reason is because they want you to laugh at it. Okay. They create movies like the Men in Black to make it comical so that you associate that with funny. Oh, stop it, the Men in Black. But this is a group that really exists. And there's an interesting video that I'd like people to look into, because it's one of the very rare cases that the Men in Black, which I personally believe in, have been caught on film. And it happened right here in Niagara Falls. A lot of people don't realize this. Quick story. I just want to tell you this real quick. There was a craft that was spotted over Niagara Falls during the daytime. A couple of employees at the tourist booth on the American side had witnessed it. The following day, they were visited by the Men in Black. Now, these two men were caught on surveillance camera coming into the tourist area. So they're clearly there. And just your stereotypical imagery: pale, tall, similar looking, black suits, black hats. The employees described them as having voices that were very monotone, that looked like they were wearing wigs, thin red lips, and they just repeatedly asked questions. Now, the two employees that witnessed the craft weren't there that day, and they turned around and left. But what I'm trying to get to is there was another organization. So you had the Men in Black. A lot of people believe that they themselves can possibly be extraterrestrials on this earth trying to help the government keep this a secret. There's another group called the Mirage Men. A lot of people don't know what the Mirage Men were. The Mirage Men were a government agency created specifically for misinformation. They were tasked at flooding. They would do things that were crazy. They'd show up at these conventions and they would say, yeah, we know that aliens exist, and just to make people out to look like nutcases. And guess what? It worked. It's very successful. You know what I mean? Because this subject does not get funded. Okay, colleges are, professors can't talk about it. Scientists can't get into it. I mean, you're mocked, and it's a dangerous territory to talk about. So when that happens, people are less likely to come forward. I bet you there's a lot of scholars and academics out there that would love to touch on this subject, but unfortunately can't because they're afraid of their funding going away.
So what I'm hearing you say is that there's a huge motivation to study this area because of the technology that's involved and the potential for energy and wealth and whatever that comes along with it. But then at the same time, that there's a lot of deception, you think, by the people leading our government and other governments, trying to keep this hidden from us. So what would be the motivation in keeping this hidden from us?
Well, the first motivation would be the military applications. You can't let this technology get out. We don't want our, adversaries to have this first. It's just like the arms race. I mean, who could get to nuclear weapons first? I mean, again, this is technology that's going to change the world. If not, it's already implemented. Maybe they're using it for other means. If they do have this technology, anti-gravity technology, and you can get into that on what exactly that entails, but it basically creates a force field around an object. And if they have that, what's to say they're not going into space and back and creating? I mean, listen, I didn't know how deep you want to get here, but a lot of people think there's colonies on the other side of the moon, active space military colonies, or on Mars. I mean, is that too far fetched if we have technology that are capable of traversing from space to Earth? So that would be one reason. The other one, again, the standard answer is the sheer panic, because you got to remember, you mentioned that the military and technological aspects of this, but you got to also think about the social aspects. I mean, what would this do to religion? We've confirmed that there's intelligent life elsewhere, bipedal life that maybe resembles us. I mean, what gods do they worship? Are they our gods? Did they create us? Where did they come from? I mean, the questions, I mean, what it would do to society in general, maybe nothing. Maybe people would just go, kind of cool, and move on with their lives and see what the next TikTok video is. But, you know, it would definitely have an impact on religious organizations. So maybe that's where the panic and the fear would derive from. I mean, that's my thinking.
Yeah. And I think this would be a good point to talk about some of the responses that you've gotten presenting to other people that you believe in aliens and in certain conspiracy theories. What is usually the first response that you get from people when you maybe bring these topics up to them? You know, what's that initial reaction like?
Oh, dude, you know, it's laughter. I mean, and you know what? Over the years, I've learned to laugh with it because that's how you break the ice. You know, you laugh about it, and then you start maybe sprinkling some weird little tidbits in there that pique their interest. And generally, I can get an idea of somebody who just wants to mock me, which I'm okay with because, you know, hey, that's life. And then I get other people that maybe are generally a little bit more curious. You know, I'd like to bring up my buddy there, our buddy, Mike Scholl, recently.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out Mike Scholl. He recently messaged me and thanked me. Hey, thanks for opening my eyes to some of these issues and that I was unaware of, and mentioning some certain topics that I've looked further into and have piqued my interest. So if I could do that for somebody, you know, it's really a personal journey. You know, if you're into it, fine. Some people don't give a crap about this stuff. I do. I have a general curiosity for everything in life, and the implications would be amazing. I hope, one of the things I hope before I pass on from this earth is that there is some sort of revelation or some sort of truth that comes out that can confirm all my beliefs. I mean, you know, I didn't go this far for nothing, dude. I mean, come on.
You really committed.
Hey, listen, I'm ready to be abducted, man. Let this go out into the universe. If you're out there listening, take me.
All right. So I wanted to play a quick game with you. I think this is going to really set us up for the rest of the interview because I wanted to get an idea of where your head's at as far as what can potentially be true and what you think is kind of on the BS spectrum as far as conspiracy theories and extraterrestrial life. Okay.
Okay. How do you want me to answer?
So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a list of some quick conspiracy theories and beliefs. I want you to tell me if you think it's true, if you think there's potential for it to be true, or if you think it's just BS. Okay.
Perfect. Let me get ready here. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Perfect.
Good.
So you tell me whether you agree with this statement, you think it might be true, or it's completely false. The Earth is flat.
Oh man, you're going hard in the paint right off the bat, dude. Jesus. This is where everyone turns off. Dude, this is one I've been on for a while. And I'm sure there's people listening right now being, I can't believe this guy's even thinking about this. Right. Right now, I'm going to give you a percentage where I sit on this.
Yeah.
I'm 60% globalist, and I'm going to say 40% flat earther at this point. Okay, so really quick, yes. What's that 40% composed of? What's making you think maybe the Earth is flat? Okay, the 40% are the weird things that we're not being told with NASA. The fact that I've never been in space. The fact that they have no images of the Earth itself. I mean, I've never been in space either. I don't have $20 million bucks. So how do we know? How do we know? I mean, this can get into something really deep here, but we're just going to believe a bunch of guys in lab coats telling us around. The Bible says that the Earth was flat. If you're a God-fearing man, you should believe the Earth is flat. What's to say it's not? I don't even know if it's square. I mean, I'm a hollow earther too, but I don't know. I think it's more because I don't know myself. You know, one of the things I want everybody to take away from this is a great quote is believe nothing you hear and only half of what you see. I'm at the point where there's been so much foolery and so many deceptive things throughout my life that I've witnessed that, listen, I'll leave flat earth up for possibility at this point. All right. So flat earth, we're going to say it's a 60-40. Okay. Yeah. 60-40. So
Extraterrestrial life exists.
Oh, I'm gonna leave. You know, like I said, you got to be on the fence and open to everything. So I'm gonna leave 10% open to no, it's all hogwash, and we're the only beings within this galaxy, this universe, this dimension. I'll leave 10% to that. I'm going to say 90% they exist, and I'll even put an 85% they're here on Earth with us now.
Damn, giving us the breakdown.
Yes, sir.
Alien life is actually highly evolved human beings.
That's a great one. I was going to touch on that earlier, and I was going to bring that up during this interview, and I'm glad you brought that up because that's been a new theory that's been floated around, and it's got a lot of credence to it. I mean, I'm a big proponent of that one. I think there's a lot to be said about that. I mean, listen, you know, these beings or extraterrestrials have been witnessed and documented through ancient times. I mean, there's cave drawings, there's mentions in ancient texts. So we know, or at least I know, that they have been visiting since the beginning of time. So why would a species do that? Visit a primitive species? You know, are we, you know, out of genuine curiosity, how far these humans evolved? Maybe they're us from the future. You know, listen, technology exponentially increases. Would we get to a point where we'd evolve so much that we become you know, populate another planet and then come back to view our old planet to see what was going on? You know,
Yeah.
I mean, listen, we do that in the Congo. We visit anthills. They don't know that we're doing that, but we put cameras and we create documentaries for Nat Geo based on ants. They're just going amongst their life. They're trying to do their thing. And here we are, this alien species above their anthill, putting these technologies in their hills, and they just go around it and go about their life. Could that be us? I mean, so yes, long story short.
So we're going to say you think that is the most probable by far, as of the ones we've talked about so far. You think that is the most likely?
Yes, and let me just a quick point on that. If you look at the modern day gray aliens, and I know Rogan's touched on this, but this was an original idea for me too. The way that they're described is exactly how we would evolve going forward if we were in space traveling about. I mean, you know, we're already advancing to the point where we're, you know, gender is an issue. So if you look at the gray aliens, they're genderless. Okay, maybe we don't need genitals to procreate anymore. We do it through cloning, what have you. Okay, their eyes are dark and black. What's that for? Maybe to filter out light and radiation. Okay, their skin is a certain type. Maybe that has benefits to it. Their size, you know, when gravity is an issue, you become smaller, more compact. You know, so who knows? Big heads. What is that? Brain evolving for telepathic abilities. I mean, we maybe no longer. I mean, the way we communicate now, you can see in society, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I are communicating great, but people, that's a big issue in society today, and I think it stems from a lot of our problems is our inability to communicate effectively to each other. Yeah. So maybe they've evolved past that. So I'm just saying, if you look at the gray alien, they have a lot of physical things that you would attribute to a species that would evolve past our planet, moving into space. Okay. So yeah, I think that's a big possibility.
And so I've got maybe 9 more to go through. So we're gonna go a little bit quicker, just because.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, so we can get through. But so the next one is, oh, you're gonna like this one. Reptilians partially or totally control world governments.
I'm 50-50 on that one.
50-50?
Yes.
Okay.
Hillary Clinton's probably a reptilian or related. Go.
That's why I wanted to have you on this show, because I knew there was going to be some good stuff. Sasquatch is real.
I'm going to go 75% it exists, 25% no.
Okay. And the earth is hollow and may contain other civilizations.
The hollow, I'm going to go 95%. I mean,
really?
It's hollow subjective. I mean, what do you mean by hollow? Are we talking a complete hollowed out earth? I mean, there's a lot of caverns that are huge.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure as to how specific the different strains of that theory go.
Okay.
I just know that it's a popular.
I'm going to go 80% on the hollow earth theory. with
Okay.
civilizations in the earth. A lot of people think the reptilians are in the earth. That's where they come from.
Yeah. Yeah. The Earth is. Oh, sorry. That's the wrong one. Chemtrails spread artificial compounds into the atmosphere to influence the population into behaving a certain way or performing certain actions.
Oh, you're going Eddie Bravo on me. Chemtrails, you know what? There is some science back to back that. So again, you got to get real specific on that category. But do I think governments have sprayed populations for various reasons? Yes, 100% on that one. 100%. Now, what they're spraying for, I don't know. I don't have the science on that. But
So you
have they
believe that it
sprayed?
could be some sort of immunization, or you don't
Yes.
necessarily think that it's something nootropic that's trying to control people to perform certain actions?
I think 100% they're spraying populations, but I don't know what that is.
Okay. And national governments are a front for the Illuminati.
No, I don't think they're a front. I think they're necessary for people like you and I, but they're puppets. And who are controlling those strings of the puppets? Yes, organizations like the Illuminati. There's a
Okay.
lot more powerful people out there than our government
I guess
and groups.
that's the way I was trying to word the question. You believe
Yes,
there's
behind the
something
scenes.
controlling behind the scenes of
Oh,
national governments.
that's 100%.
Okay. And the next one, the U.S. government has knowledge of extraterrestrial life, and it isn't sharing.
100%. I'm going to go on that. They definitely know something. 100%. And like we talked about earlier, they're keeping a secret for their own reasons. And I think now they're starting to trickle out information. Why? I don't really know. I
Yeah.
don't know. Why now are they choosing to confirm certain amounts of information? Very little. They're not going too deep. But why even mention it at all?
Right.
So I don't know. But 100%, yes, I think that they are aware and they're hiding it for their own reasons.
Okay. 9/11 was orchestrated or allowed to happen by the U.S. government.
We took a big left turn there, buddy.
Yep.
That's a subject all on its own, but you know my feelings on that, of course. I mean, now how many years later are we? We can kind of talk about it without, hopefully offending too many people. That's a touchy subject. You got to be careful talking about that one. I'm not trying to hurt anyone's feelings. I mean, there were a lot of lives lost. We know that. And it was a super sad event. But yeah, I think there was some corruption behind there. I think there was some motive. I mean, there's an old saying that goes, never let a good crisis go to waste. And I think that's what we did. I don't know necessarily if we set bombs in every floor and exploded those, but I definitely think the government had advanced knowledge and did nothing to prevent it. Hey, they did it during Pearl Harbor. We know that for a fact. Why wouldn't they do it for a 9/11? Look what happened right after. I mean, you put the pieces together, it makes a lot of sense. But that's a show that would need hours to break down.
Yeah. That's that. Honestly, I was trying to touch on just about every subject here really quick, but there's no way in 30 minutes you're going to be able to dissect any of these issues whatsoever.
No, I tried a little bit here and there. I can just
And Hitler did not die in 1945.
That's a good one. I'm going to go 80% he didn't die and 20% he did.
80%, really?
Yeah. I mean, listen, the guy, it was a complete nutcase. We know that, but he had an ego the size of the earth. I mean, there's no way he's going to commit suicide. And there's a lot of evidence. We know for a fact in South America, there's Nazi communities, even to this day. I mean, there's monuments erected, and we know for a fact after the war, we took those Nazis and used them for their brains. I mean, that's what NASA was built on. But Hitler, they had an escape route. I mean, why wouldn't they? And the other thing to mention is even the great leaders of today, our president, North Korea, they all have body doubles. They have throughout time. They don't always show up to these public events. So what's to say his body double didn't off himself? And Hitler's on a submarine, spending his days in South America. Real quick on that, if you're interested in that subject, Google a picture. There's a few pictures of him later in life, supposedly. Again, we don't know if it's true or not, but they look pretty damn authentic of him with a shaved mustache, complete bald head, and different clothing in South America.
I've seen a couple of those. I've always wanted, that's the hard thing with conspiracy theories is determining, what's an actual picture, what's documented, and what is just made up.
if you're interested in that subject, also the Discovery Channel did a show with Tim Kennedy, MMA fighter and ex-military or current military veteran. He did a show called Hunting Hitler. Very interesting stuff. Look into it.
Hmm.
I'm 80% on that one, though. 80% that he survived, 20% he died.
Our religious beliefs, our human religious beliefs, were actually built around aliens.
That's a really good one. These are really good questions, Downey. Really good ones. Well, you know, again, it's a touchy subject. You got to be careful how you approach that because, you know, you don't want to offend anybody. I had an upbringing where my mom was really religious, so I was exposed to religion early on. You know, there's a lot of quackery within religion. You got, again, it's almost like looking into these conspiracies. You got to look into these things yourself and don't follow the herd. You know, do your own research when you're joining a church. Look into what they believe in and things of that nature. Was religion mixed in with that, with extraterrestrials? Well, if you take the word alien and you replace it with angel, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, what essentially were Adam and Eve? They were aliens. I mean, to a point, you know, angels. I mean, if you look at all these, they come from the sky, right? They have wings of flight. Well, people back then are going to describe things the best they could. So when you see something flying, you assume it has wings.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of ancient Indian texts. I'm not pronouncing this right. The Bhagavad Gita. That's probably the wrong pronunciation, but it's an ancient text that talks about the Vimanas. I believe they're flying craft. My point being is that there are religious texts that do talk about extraterrestrials. Now, another one is in the Bible, the Book of Enoch, which was taken out. If you're really interested in this subject, I'm not going to linger too much because I know you have a bunch of questions, but look into the Book of Enoch. It specifically talks almost directly about UFOs and aliens. It's mind-blowing. A lot of people are not aware of that.
Yeah. And so I've got one more conspiracy theory question, and then we're going to go into some quick fun questions and wrap it up, okay?
Oh, I love this. It's awesome.
Mr. Lee Harvey Oswald killed JFK without the help of anyone else.
Oh, no, not at all. No, absolutely not. You know, I just finished watching The Irishman, which is a great movie, and it talks about, you know, maybe one of the reasons they off Kennedy, you know, with the mob. So there's a lot surrounding why Kennedy was assassinated. I mean, there's theories from mob associations to Kennedy was going to reveal things about extraterrestrials to dismantling the CIA. They had a lot of motive behind it, but I think, you know, we're doing conspiracies. Let's talk MK Ultra. I mean, you know,
I wanted to include that one on the list, actually. Yeah,
mind control. Was Lee Harvey Oswald one of those people? I mean, if you look at Lee Harvey Oswald and Timothy McVeigh, there's a lot of similarities there. Military background, told they were going to be in the special forces.
Yeah, absolutely.
They did something horrific with maybe the thoughts they were doing something patriotic. Were they under some sort of mind control? Were there, you know, who knows? But do I think Lee Harvey Oswald was a lone gunman? No. I think he had funding, help. I think this was plotted. And it was executed brilliantly because they
awesome.
They got their target.
Well, then I think everybody has a much better idea of some of the theories that are out there and what it is that you believe is worth researching. So let's shift into a little bit more of a fun time now to wrap up.
I'm having fun now
because I'm curious about a few of these. 3 favorite artists of all time, music artists. All right. Can be living or dead. It can be, I don't know who you listen to, how far back, but 3 artists that you're always listening to. It doesn't matter. You've just always loved them.
Okay. Well, you're going to be surprised. Now I grew up,
really?
You know, in the 90s. Yeah, well, maybe. I grew up in the 90s. I can name 2.
Mm-hmm.
First one being the Notorious B.I.G. You know, I'm from New York. I love Biggie. The album Ready to Die is one of the few albums I can listen to the first song to the last, and I know the words to every song.
I haven't heard this. I need to hear the Ryan Magee audition.
I won't be rapping on this podcast, maybe in a future one. But the second one will surprise you. I'm a big fan of Britney Spears.
Yeah.
I liked her music early on. I mean, I enjoyed what she put out. I had Britney Spears stickers on my car, and I got made fun of. And
so here's the thing: are you a are you the early Britney fan or are you the later Britney fan?
A little bit of both, like Slave to You, I think, or Slave, that one album she did with the
Mhm.
boa constrictor. I think that was a little later on in her career. I liked all her music. I really don't know the albums too much, but when a Britney song comes on, I get happy.
All right, cool. And then
You know,
for the
the third artist, I don't know. That's a tricky one. I haven't really thought that one through. I guess I'm just going to go with Tupac because I lived through the East and West thing, and I enjoyed both. I remember when Tupac's double album came out. I was so excited for it, and that's another. I love that. So
yeah, I was gonna say I think that's the first time I've heard Tupac and Biggie on a top 3 list.
yeah.
Uh, and what's a hobby you picked up over quarantine?
Oh, over quarantine, woodworking. I wish I
Mm.
could turn my camera over to you, but I got into dismantling pallets and building like little coffee tables and things of that nature. My neighbor has access to pallets, and I went on to Pinterest. And there's a lot of cool things you can do with pallets, believe it or not. You can
Oh
create
yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of cool furniture, and I mean, they're all weather, so you can put the stuff outdoors. And I really got into it. It's relaxing to me, and the margin for error is greater because you're working with pallets. It doesn't have to be perfect. You want that, farmhouse look.
Yeah.
So I dig it. I like that type of stuff.
That's awesome. And I know you are really big into shoes. You, in fact, waited up right before this interview in order to purchase a new pair of, what was it, the new Yeezy shoes?
Yes, Azareth Yeezy blue colorway.
So I need to know, what to you is the most important pair of shoes that you own?
Oh, right now it's my foam runners. My son got those for me for my birthday. I mean, those are awesome. Everybody calls them the Yeezy Crocs. I mean, I don't think they look like Crocs. They're made by Kanye West. I think his vision is very futuristic and, UFOs, extraterrestrials. I like futuristic stuff. I think the stuff he puts out, you don't see anywhere else. He has the freedom with Adidas to do what he wants and create, and I think what he creates is awesome. Unfortunately, he doesn't create a lot to keep the value behind it. So a lot of these things are super expensive. So you got to either get it when it releases and get lucky, or you're going to pay the aftermarket prices.
Um, well, that's it for me, Ryan. But I wanted to end with one last question about
Sure.
where you think people should focus their research if they're wanting to know more about these topics. What do you consider to be a reputable source of information?
Yeah. You know what? Early on, pre-internet, my sources of information were books. I had the library to go to, so I had to rely on the authors doing diligent research themselves and then absorbing their information. If you want a condensed version of a lot of these theories and stuff, but with credible resources where they actually list the citations, I'll be honest, you're gonna laugh, but the show Ancient Aliens does an incredible job of it. They have physicists and scientists with credible backgrounds. If you wait to the credits, they list their sources and their citations. And also, there's a website called the Gaia, Gaia. It's a subscription service. There's a lot of people, including high profile, like I said, scientists. It gives them a little bit more freedom to talk about the issues without being ridiculed. So again, it is a subscription paid service. I've gone on there before and I've really enjoyed it myself. It's opened my eyes to a lot. And then, it's one of those things where you just have to absorb it all, sit down, look at it, and decide what you think is real. Share it amongst your friends and family, like you and I do. Hey, man,
Yeah.
check out this video. What do you think? Oh, it looks like bull. I don't think it's real. Okay, move on to the next thing. There's just too much out there with the age of the internet. It's just too much out there. So just do the best you can. The research is what's important. Your general curiosity and looking into it. And again, finding sources that you deem to be credible, which is difficult to do today.
Yeah. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for being on. I can't tell you how happy this interview made me. I was looking forward to this all week long. And
Me too. Me too.
yeah, for anyone who may be listening, Ryan is a amazing person. So I don't want you
Thank
to
you.
think that just because he believes something that you don't believe, that he is somehow less intelligent of a person. That's why I wanted to have him on, because I do believe that people with other perspectives and other beliefs deserve to be listened to, and they deserve to have their own opinion. So make sure that you give Ryan his chance to speak, which is why I wanted to have you on. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me on. And remember, believe half of what you see and nothing you hear.
One more fist bump for the camera.